Hello, MSer. This is Johnny MS, and I've had multiple sclerosis since 2012. Today, we're going to talk about what I've been doing as far as food to help my multiple sclerosis. I've had MS since 2012. For the first 5 or 6 years, I didn't really do anything extra except take my medication that my doctors said to take and trust that they would tell me what to do if there's anything that I could do to improve my MS. It's like one day I just woke up and I realized that I should be doing more than just take my medicine. I wanted to figure out other ways that maybe I could impact my MS in a good way. I'm sure there are things I was doing that was hurting my MS. In the past few years, Montel has been sort of a goal. He's had MS for 25 years and he's 67 now and he's still able to walk okay, even though he says he has walking issues. I guess he can't work out and things like that anymore, but he can still walk around. I see recordings of him on TV shows and other things. 67, able to walk way better than I can, and I'm only 44. So I want to know what he's been doing, and hopefully I grow old and I can still keep walking and I'm not in a wheelchair. Montel Williams says that I don't know if it's one thing or multiple things, but the thing that he is focused on is cutting or greatly reducing inflammation. So what I've been doing in the past 3 years or so is figuring out ways to greatly reduce or completely cut out any inflammation from my life. About 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, the keto thing was new and hot. It was kind of I'll call it a fad diet. It's still around, but it really came into light back then. I use that as a way to greatly reduce my carbs. The keto diet, if I'm not mistaken, it's keep your carbs under 20 carbs per day, I think. So I did that about 6 months and I learned what foods to cut out of my diet and focus on healthy fats and cut out carbs as much as possible. A big obstacle for me was greatly reducing beer and eventually cutting it out completely. I really enjoy beer and I would have beer with as many situations as I could do it. Friends, just anything social. I just wanted to figure out a way to cut beer out of my life. And I slowly cut it down to maybe one or two per month. And then eventually, I don't even do beer at all anymore. I can't remember the last time I had a beer. I also like bourbon and whiskey. They don't necessarily cause inflammation, but I just know that alcohol is something I want to take out of my life because I'm sure it's hurting my body. Alcohol being a poison and all. I'm sure it's hurting my body, or at least not allowing my body to function optimally. In that time, I realized how to identify the worst things that cause inflammation. And sugar is probably the most obvious that everybody has to deal with. As Americans, we ingest way too much sugar. 200 years ago, we didn't really ingest sugar unless we found it in fruit out in the wild. In the 1900s, we started to really ingest a lot of processed foods and just everything has sugar. By eliminating sugar from my diet, I am also eliminating inflammation. Everything has sugar, every processed food, every piece of bread has sugar in it. By removing sugar, I was able to really just cut so much out of my diet that I didn't want to have it anymore. I did a lot of food journaling. I've experimented on myself. I think everybody should be experimenting on themselves because I can read something that worked for somebody else, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work for me. So if I hear a certain thing that a person does helps them with their MS, I want to try it. It may or may not work with me, but I'm going to journal it to say, okay, if I remove that and I journal it for a week or two, then I look at my journal and say, okay, did it help? Did it not? I did that for so many things for at least 3 years, like I said. And I figured out the hard way of what foods were really interacting with my MS symptoms and figuring out what I could cut, what I could change it with. Because there were things I could exchange for, let's say I don't do sugar, but I do a tiny bit of honey. I don't really do that much, but back then when I was transitioning to the way I eat now, but back then I was like, okay, if I take out sugar, how can I replace it with something healthier? And I did that over and over again until now I've completely cut out all sugar. One sad part about that journaling experimentation, I realized even healthy carbs were not helping my walking. I love vegetables. I love Brussels sprouts. I love broccoli. I love all kinds of vegetables. And I journaled and I would try out things, and then my walking would get worse. But then once I cut them, things got better. I'm just really sad about that because you think that vegetables are healthy, right? Everybody's always told, eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables. I was eating my vegetables and it was actually causing my MS walking issues to get worse. I have eliminated so much out of my diet now. I was researching and I stumbled across the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is where people are only eating meat, period. Anything animal products, milk, cheese, beef, pork, eggs, etc. Anything truly an animal product. And I started with that and I was researching more and more. And then there's also something called a lion diet, which is only ruminant meats and water, basically. And I tried the carnivore diet. I ate pork, I ate chicken, I ate any kind of meat products like cheese and that kind of thing. But now that I've done it for a while, I just really only eat beef, eggs, water. I had to edit this video a little bit because I needed to explain to you guys that just because I'm eating all this meat, my personal friend is a cardiologist. So I talk to him all the time about making sure that eating all this meat isn't going to hurt my chances with heart disease. Just wanted everybody to understand that. I'm boring. Like with my eating, I've taken it completely out of my life. I just don't even think about food anymore. I just beef, eggs, water. That's it. The first few months were a little hard because there was a transition phase where you're getting all the oxalates out of your body and you have some transition woes where I would say the first, 3 weeks, month are pretty tough. There's a lot of transition where you have to run to the bathroom because you're not feeling very well and you have to go to the bathroom. And then there's just headaches and that kind of thing. Then after that first month, it's been a breeze. Now that I'm only eating beef, eggs, water, life is so much easier. I get grocery delivery and I'll order 10 to 12 ribeyes. Now my favorite cut of meat is a ribeye. Each ribeye is about a pound and a half. And I'll order like 10 per week. And that's almost what I eat. That and ground beef. That's it. I get 80-20 ground beef and I get ribeyes. That's pretty much what I eat. Eggs are cheap these days, thankfully, because they were expensive during COVID. But now they're pretty cheap. I can get a pack of 18 for $3. So I'll get a bunch of eggs, a bunch of ribeyes. That's about it. I might get some Topo Chico, which is like sparkling water. But that's it. I've lost about 30 pounds since I started eating this way. That was never the goal. Sure, I'm 220 pounds. I'm overweight, technically, based on the charts. I should be around 175, maybe 180, but I'm 220. But weight loss was never the goal of eating this way. If it happened, great. If it didn't, I'm still going to eat like this because I feel so good. I lost 30 pounds. It'd be great if I lost another 50, but that's not why I'm here. The purpose of the video is not to tell everybody to eat only meat. That's not at all what this is about. The purpose of this video is to explain that everybody should be experimenting on themselves. Something that works for me may not work for you. Something that works for you may not work for me. But what if it does? What if I do that thing that you say helps you and then it helps me? I'm like, yes, we all win. I'm not saying you should eat only meat. I'm saying that you should try certain things. Maybe try to remove carbs, bread. I don't know, remove meat. I don't know. I was a vegetarian for 2 years to try, and it didn't really help. It might help some people, but it didn't help me. After experimentation, it's obvious to me that if I eat carbs, my walking issues get worse. I may not, let's say if I eat a loaf of bread today, or a half a loaf of bread, or just a few tortillas, I may not feel it the next day, but within the next 3 to 5 days, based on my journaling, my walking gets worse. As opposed to the days that I don't eat that stuff and I journal it, my walking doesn't get worse. All of this goes to say that I will gladly eat meat only if it means that it keeps me out of a wheelchair.